Mike, can you hear me? Mike?
Yes, I can hear you, Randy.
Okay, thank you. We can hear you also. Mr. Elam is not going to be with us this evening. He's on the phone in, so. Anyway, this evening, Mr. Conley has a proclamation from Governor Justice that he would like to read.
Chief, would you and your officers like to join me up here, please? Absolutely. And I'm gonna have to take this off, because I cannot wear it and read it. I'll get back on as quickly as I can. You wanna stand in the middle there? Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. As, Mayor said, I have a proclamation here from Governor Justice. I'd like to read that to you all, and then I'll present it to Chief Piper and, his department. From the Office of the Governor, whereas the great state of West Virginia has law enforcement officers who every day place their lives in harm's way to protect our state citizens from crime and corruption. And whereas law enforcement officers play a vital role for the citizens of the United States and West Virginia by protecting them from domestic and international threats to our way of life. And whereas law enforcement officers across West Virginia go above and beyond to help our citizens in time of need and by volunteering their time to coach and mentor young people. And whereas law enforcement officers play a vital role in educating the future generation of our nation about the importance of public service and careers in law enforcement. And whereas law enforcement is a position filled with daily trials, tribulations, and dangers that require the support of our country's citizens and elected officials. And whereas law enforcement is a dangerous profession, and last year 48 law enforcement officers were killed in the line of duty in the United States and Puerto Rico, and whereas 15 died as a result of investigative or law enforcement activities, 9 were involved in tactical situations, 5 were involved in unprovoked attacks, 4 were responding to crimes in progress, 3 were involved in arrest situations, 3 were assisting other law enforcement officers, 3 were responding to disorders or disturbances, 3 were involved in vehicular pursuits, 2 were ambushed, and 1 was attempting to serve a court order. And whereas 34 were slain with handguns, 7 with rifles, 1 with a shotgun, and 2 with firearms in which the types of firearms were unknown and not reported. Now, therefore, I, Jim Justice, Governor of the great state of West Virginia, do hereby bestow upon the city of Vienna this proclamation, given under my hand and the great seal of the state of West Virginia, the 2nd day of August in the year of our Lord, 2020, James Jim Justice, Governor. Thank you guys for your service. Appreciate everything you do.
We have one person signed up to speak this evening on the public forum, Brenda Powell.
My name is Brenda Powell. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. What I wanted to bring forward to council for consideration is actually came about with the 4th of July. And there's been a lot of people that had commented regarding the fireworks. So what I'd like to bring forward is under the ordinance 545.10 with the fireworks safety violations. It's under I, violations of this article, but it talks about the days set aside for fireworks for the 4th of July and for New Year's holiday. 4th of July has 7 days for 10 hours of being able to set off fireworks. Of course, New Year's does not have that many days, but it still has the 10 hours of being able to set off fireworks. The reason why I'm bringing this forward is the consideration of the public. And the fact of it is, long periods of time, long days for celebration, although it affects the veterans and those with dementia or Alzheimer's, also with people that have pets. So it becomes a very big issue. So I'm coming before council today, this evening, to be able to ask you to pull this ordinance, take a look at it, see if you can adjust it to where that it can be something reasonable and be beneficial for those that suffer from different things regarding it, having the fireworks being set off. So that's one thing that I wanted to say. The other thing that I wanted to bring forward was actually I wished that we had more information regarding the John Mansfield property when we had the update, that we would know where we're going now after the PCB, that where things are going to go from here, and if there's any idea about money and how much it's going to cost. That, and the fact of it is, for the small business, the small businesses with the relief money, with the CDBG relief money that's supposed to be available, there hasn't been an update. It was supposed to be possibly the middle of June. Here we are, the last of July, and we still, the people, the businesses in Vienna have not heard anything. So I was hoping that you would bring forward some of these things when you have a lighter schedule for council, and hopefully you will in the near future. Thank you.
I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for July the 23rd, 2020. Let the record reflect that I've taken roll, that all members of council are present. Councilman Elam joining us by phone this evening. The minutes from the regular council meeting held on July the 9th, 2020 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, then the minutes will stand approved as posted. The report of the treasurer will be given at the first meeting in August. So we'll move right on into unfinished business. The first item we have on our, we have no unfinished business this evening, so we'll move right into new business. The first item of order under new business is an ordinance on first reading amending 95501 for Spencer's Landing. That is an ordinance amending the opening and closing. Mr. Skogstad, would you read this by title, please? Or you can read the whole thing, it's not that long.
Operation hours, be it an ordinance amending 95501 Spencer's Landing, be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it hereby amends the operation hours for Spencer's Landing as follows. Operation hours, the hours of use by the public for the property presently known as Spencer's Landing, specifically that approximately 17.094 acre tract on River Road, located between the Ohio River to the west and the railroad tracks running parallel to River Road to the east, Lonsdale Drive, the Connolly property, and Leslie property to the south, and Jimmy Harper property to the north, is hereby open for public use between sunrise and sunset.
Council, this was brought to me at the request of our police department. Spencer's Landing hours were not specified, the same as every other park in Vienna. This simply aligns the opening and closing hours with the other parks that we have in Vienna. Sunrise and sunset are both determined. You can look at those on any calendar and find out what they're supposed to be for that day. So anyway, that's why this is here this evening. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval on first reading, an ordinance amending 95501 for the opening and closing hours of Spencer's Landing.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve on first reading the ordinance amending 955.01. Is there any discussion? Yes, sir, Bruce?
I'd like to say, first of all, that I am against this. Not against it because I think it should be open from midnight to 6 o'clock the next morning. But I'd just like to know just exactly what Mrs. Powell said. I think we need to know where we're going with this piece of property. Are we going to put basketball court there? Are we going to put horseshoes? Are we going to put sand volleyball, picnic shelters? bathrooms, you know, what's going to happen to this piece of property? And it is not under any department that we have in this city. It should be put into parks. If it is put into parks, then this would not have to be done. That's what I've got to say. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question then. All those in favor on first reading of the ordinance amending 95501, adjusting the time at Spencer's Landing, please signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Thank you, Mike. I'm sorry, I would have gotten you in a second. All those
Aye.
opposed? Okay, 6-1. Mr. Rogers? Okay. With that, this will be back on for second reading on the first meeting in August. That concludes our agenda for this evening. Before we go into council comments, I just want to make a couple answers. The reason why you've not heard anything about the small business project, it has not been approved by HUD yet. They are the ones that have to approve the rules that were set up. Until they do, there is no way to implement the program. So until they give us the green light, there is nothing that can be done. All right? As far as the Spencer's Landing, the Johns Manville project goes, the reason why it is not under any of the Parks Department is because it is not a park yet. We still do not have the letter of no further action from the Department of Environmental Protection until we actually get that paper that says we have a clean bill of health. There is nothing that can be done. I know that I spoke with Mr. Rebar this week, and Jim, I don't know if you have any further updates. Jim was supposed to, or Tom was supposed to call me on Tuesday to set up a meeting with you, and he did not. So I haven't had a conversation with Tom, but he said that he's got the final paperwork ready, and so I don't know if you have any more of an update than that.
I do. So, with respect to Johns Manville, Spencer's Landing, I mean, I think we work pretty hard to keep you updated with what we know, and we know it's a long process, and it's moved forward. The last conversation that we had was with respect to the report to get us out of any EPA oversight and keep the PCB issue within the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection. Tom has actually changed jobs. He's with quite a good environmental company called Downstream Strategies in Morgantown now, which I'm familiar. But that transition, I think, cost him a little time because he was supposed to have his report to us a few weeks, well, probably a month and a half ago in it. But I did receive a draft of it today. And again, the objective of that report, because the levels, while slightly above into EPA territory, we think are manageable within DEP, and I'm halfway through that draft. I read it, it's long, half of it today. With respect to the closing of the certificate of completion for Spencer's Landing, he's also in the process of drafting that. We've kind of made a decision. I asked him what the cost would be and conferred with the mayor, and he said it will be relatively inexpensive to go ahead and attempt to close it out ahead of. You've heard us talk about closing them together. It's one project. But we're trying to go ahead because of the issues that Bruce raises and Spencer's Landing. And I agree, until we get this done, sunrise to sunset, to give the police what they need to manage the property seems to be a good move. But that paperwork is on the eve of being submitted, I would say. And it's been a long haul. Nobody wants this done more than I do. I'm tired of talking about it. But we're closing in, and as far as Spencer's Landing, I think we'll have the document we need so that council and all those that are involved can take up the issue of what's next. So that's my update.
I can tell you that the next process that will happen as soon as Mr. Leach gets the letter of no further action that we need, the first thing that we will do is we will have public meetings. And you know how difficult that is to do right now because you can't have more than 25 people at a meeting. But the intent is to open it up, bring anybody that wants to have an opinion, and we'll probably do another mailing because some people won't want to come and be around, a large group of people. But we will do a mailing and have choices on there. What do you want to see down there? As of this date, there is no plan that is set in stone because it's whatever the community wants. We will bring it back to council. If council wants to fund that, or if we have the funds available, then we will start on whatever direction that the town of Vienna wants for the development of that property. The only thing that I know that I would like to see is a walking trail, because there are people that are down there every day walking there, and shelters and picnic tables, because the view is so beautiful down there that I think that that would be something that would benefit everyone. Other than that, it's going to be up to the town to say, do we want a boat launch? Do we want a kayak launch? Do we want baseball fields? Do we want soccer fields? It is entirely up to the city of Vienna to make the suggestions. We'll bring those suggestions back to council, take the direction that council wants to go with the allocation of the funds. We'll see what we can afford. It's going to be a long process. You can't build these things overnight, but we'll develop a plan and we'll work at it over a number of years to get the ultimate goal of what the city would like to see on that beautiful piece of property. So that's where we're at now. Until we get the letter of no further action, you can't make a plan. Once we get that letter of no further action, then we will sit down. We will get all the input that we can get, put the cost figures together, whatever we can afford, we'll start. Okay? All right, I have one other item, and then we'll go to council comments. On August the 2nd at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the city of Vienna is going to host a parade for first responders. We're inviting every police department, fire department, and ambulance service that's within probably 40 miles. What we've asked them to do is to come to 60th Street. We're going to line up all the units, and then our police chief will lead a procession down Grand Central. We're going to invite every person in town to come out, stand along Grand Central, bring signs, bring whatever you want to say thank you to the people that have gotten so much work done in this pandemic and every day, really. And then the parade will go all the way down Grand Central to the Grand Central Mall. It will enter the north entrance of the Grand Central Mall, where it will then circle the entire property. And we're inviting people to go to the mall. If you don't want to get out of your car and be around people, you can park anywhere in the parking lot facing the roadway. That way, when the procession comes around, you can blow your horn, flash your lights, do whatever you care to do to say thank you to these folks. And then at that point, that will be the end of the procession. We are not planning at this point any kind of speeches or public gathering, because there'll be a large group. You can't have gatherings that size. So that is an issue that I don't know of any way around. I mean, I went to the one the other day for Parkersburg. They had about 400 people there. It was a great turnout. It was a nice affair. But the social distancing, it's not getting any better. And so we're going to do this as the parade. I am still waiting for any suggestions from any council members as far as any suggestions on what you would like to see in this. But for now, the initial part of this is a parade, recognize all the members of our first responders, and hopefully the town of Vienna will speak for us and thank them in a great way. They always have. I'm confident they will. So with that, I'm still, we're still in the early stages of this. If there's any suggestions or anything that you would like to see added to this, please let me know, because I think we're going to have a large turnout for this. Okay? All right. With that, we go to council comments. Yes, sir, Bruce? Oh, go.
I think most of my answers as far as Spencer Landing is concerned. The only concern I have is we're not putting it anywhere in one of our departments, and it worries me that maybe someone's going to try to sell it. And I think that's a great piece of property to develop and to have activities for our seniors down there. I know at Ravenswood, they have a band shell, they have concerts there. It's beautiful, and I think we can have that here too. But I can't see how in the world it takes all this time for a little bit of PCBs from transformers to get cleaned up. I mean, it's already been over a month that we have heard that they have been there, and it is not being declared it everywhere. And I don't know why in the world that we have to wait on the plant side and we can't start using Spencer's Landing or get a clean bill of health there, because they're two different situations. And as far as I heard last time, all EPA concerns was satisfied on the Spencer's Landing side. So why can't we get a permission to go ahead and get a permit to go ahead and use and develop that property down there? And that's basically my biggest concern. There was not too long ago a company that was putting piers or whatever along the High River, and they said that if there's anyone else that would be a beautiful place to develop, to take kids down there and parents down there to go fishing. But the only problem is it's so far down to the river and the banks aren't clear as far as fishing is concerned. But if that person would come back and put some pier there that we could attach to, not dig or do anything, I think we can put a beautiful system down there where we could have a place for docks and for kids to go down there with their parents and to fish. And I think there's all kinds of stuff that can be developed down there in that area. And I would never want to see it sold as far as Vienna and this city is concerned. Thank you.
Bruce, if I could answer just one of your questions in there, well, actually two. I've never heard any rumblings whatsoever to sell that piece of property, and I certainly wouldn't support that. I think the long-range goal for the city of Vienna is to have a beautiful riverfront park. But as far as your remarks about how long it's taking, I have to tell you, I don't know if you've had any dealings with any state agency or any federal agency in the last 4 months, but everybody's working from home. It's almost impossible to even get us out of the license plates out of the Department of Motor Vehicles. And every time you try to talk to one of these people, there's no one there to talk to. There was a crew in here just yesterday from the DEP. They were taking some readings off of the monitoring wells. They couldn't find one of the monitoring wells, okay? And it's crazy because the different people that we've worked with know exactly where these are, and a different crew came in. You're getting about half an effort from most of these agencies because everybody's staying at home. And so the length of time, it's just, unfortunately, it's just something we have to put up with for a little while longer. But hopefully if Jim and Tom Rebar make the paperwork get submitted, we'll get the green light, and then we can go ahead and we can do this. But it's just, unfortunately, with the COVID, it's got things on a slow pace.
I know that there is problems out there. Last time I went over to DMV to get my license, you had to call ahead, get an appointment, and then get that appointment and then go there. And they came out the door and they called you out, and then you were able to go in. If you want to get rid of trash, you have to have your own helmet and your own vest. And if you don't have it, you've got to buy it. I've been trying to get in contact with the teacher's retirement system for over 4 months. They are going to the home, and their offices are closed. I've been trying to get to Social Security. Their offices closed. You can't get much done with anything. So I understand what you're talking about government entities right now.
Thank you. All right. Any other council comments this evening? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to mention, follow up on the parade.
Okay.
If anybody is interested, the FOP is proceeds from the Back the Blue t-shirts that are being sold around different places. I know the Shirt Factory is selling those. And the proceeds from that go through the FOP toward the Shop with a Cop program that they have in December. So if anybody is interested, to participate up Grand Central on the 2nd for Back the Blue, I mean, you're welcome to purchase one of the t-shirts there. We're taking orders in the city building here just so that we all can support them as well. But I wanted to let the public know that they are available at the Shirt Factory and possibly some other places.
Okay. Any other council comments this evening? All right. With that, Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you calling in.